So, Coach, turning the page on non-conference now, moving into Mid-American Conference play, is there kind of like a renewed energy when you open MAC play, knowing that this is kind of like what you've been working for all these months?
There is every year, just an excitement when you get ready to play in the MAC. It's a good conference, a lot of good teams. It's been, I think, an interesting non-conference portion of the year, not just for our team, but for a number of MAC teams. And so I think there are a couple of teams that have put themselves at the top of the conference, but there are a number of teams that are still really figuring things out. A number of teams have dealt with more injuries this year than normal, had some different struggles that they face. And so I would say as a conference, it's probably more open from 3 to 12 than it's been in recent history. And so I believe that our team's excited to go into MAC play, but I believe a number of other teams are just excited to see where we really stack up against our peers in our own conference.
Do you pay any attention at all to what the other MAC teams are doing during non-conference play, or is that kind of counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish?
I would say we're aware of it. I certainly, when I'm on the bus, I don't spend a lot of time spending a lot of early scouting on those teams because we all change so much this time of year, and really, I don't say it's a waste of time, but it's not the best use of your time to really think about what somebody's doing in week 1 when you're not going to see them until week 6, because things change, personnel changes, system changes, all that happen. But we do still watch, and we notice when some good wins happen. We notice when some maybe bad losses, or just those different things that everyone is doing. The same when other teams are watching and seeing how we're doing. And so we know, and we've been able to see that. We've seen several teams perform at a high level, and now we get to see what that really means. Because even like some of the wins, like, well, what does that really mean? How good was that team? We've had some wins that they look really good, and then maybe they're not, or vice versa. You get a loss at the time, you feel like, man, that was a terrible loss, and later you find out, oh, that team was really, really good. Maybe it wasn't as bad of a loss as we thought. So all those things are good information to have, but they don't mean as much as when we start playing head-to-head.
Can you kind of assess the non-conference portion of your schedule? You guys, obviously, we talked about it ad nauseum and faced a lot of adversity. How do you think your team has handled kind of this rocky road to MAC play?
Well, rocky road is a good description of that, and certainly when you're missing 5 players, it changes things, and we understand that. But we have 10 healthy players, and they're working hard and they're improving. And it's like our last match. We played number 2 team in the country, and I'm not going to say that we were even. That would be a stretch. Clearly, there's a reason Penn State is number 2 in the country. But I think we competed, and we competed well, and it brought out the best in a number of our players, and that was good to see. When you play against a team of that level, your team can either just fold or your team can be pulled upwards by their level, and I think that happened. So I think if you look through the whole portion of our non-conference schedule, different people kind of shine at different moments. Obviously, Tia got off to a huge start. I think Lizzie has been kind of up and down, but she leaves this last weekend. She hit almost 250 against Penn State. Probably the kid that has come on lately has been Allie, and that's a kid that she had a really good last half of the year. Last year was really successful. Deservedly was a first-team all-conference player, and has really struggled at the beginning of this year. Was hitting for a low percentage, wasn't striking the ball with pace. Just really, and there's a number of things that influence that. I think she's playing with a setter who's never ever had a one-footed opposite before, and so the angles with which you can set that person and set them a good ball change a lot. So learning that. 2, it's just a new year and getting used to what the system's going to be. And then we're not passing as well this year, and so you have a one-footed opposite that you very much rely on that pass for you to be successful, and that really wasn't happening at a high level early on. We made a decision before the year started with our training staff that when we go into these 3-match weekends, that we're only going to play her 2 matches, and so she's getting less reps than some of the other people just to protect her knees. And you add to that, then she's taking grad classes, so she's going to miss more of practice. So all those things, I think all those different factors added to Allie getting to where Allie needs to be, taking a lot longer. If maybe last year that was happening by week 2, this weekend we saw for the first time Allie was really striking the ball consistently. She hit I think it was Wake Forest. I hit over 400, and they weren't like, good shot off the hands, good deep throw. I mean, they were striking the ball with pace. Plays Penn State, had almost a 50% kill rate against Penn State, against one of the more physical left side blocks in the country. And don't get me wrong, that physical block, she got her share of things too. But I think that was a kid, if I were to say that I was most happy to see, is just to see her development, that really struggled early and now is going into conference, playing at the level that we need her to play. But I just think team-wide, I mean, it's been a journey for sure, and there's been plenty of ups and downs, but we're seeing people be more versatile, find different ways to impact the game, and that's a good thing for us going forward.
Touching on the versatility, we saw you guys move Tia to the outside against Penn State. What prompted that decision on your part, and is that something we're going to see moving forward?
Right. I teed that question up for you pretty well, right? Tia is a really gifted athlete, and she's been very successful in the middle, hitting over 400 for the year in the middle, but we're not passing well enough to get her enough swings. And the reality is we don't have we have one healthy outside right now, and so we have different people that are going through that position, and we're just going to keep trying different things until we find one that makes the most sense. Steph hasn't been an outside hitter since high school, and we gave her some reps out there, and she's learning and improving. Allison has been a back row player for us, and she's someone that played outside in high school, that we will give her some reps out there as well. And then Tia, obviously very successful in the middle, but we think she could be successful on the outside. So I wish I could tell you what our long-term plan is, but we had some long-term plans a few months ago that are very different right now, and so I don't really know what our long-term plans are. I believe we'll continue to train Tia in a number of positions so that she continues to grow as a volleyball player and she continues to learn. I was really impressed with Tia this weekend, just her response to it. When I asked, hey Tia, what do you think about playing outside? And she could have been like, I'm doing pretty well in the middle. I'm putting up some pretty good numbers over here. I'll look a lot better if we stay in there. She just said, hey, whatever helps the team, I'm glad to do it. And I thought that was admirable for a freshman who's finding early success in her career to walk away from some of that success if it helps the team. There are a lot of kids that wouldn't have that mindset, so I was really impressed with her in that moment.
I was just going to ask you, how impressed are you with her ability to handle some of these things that have come her way this season, from thinking that she was going to redshirt to now she's playing to, she kind of becomes the focal point of the offense, and now you're asking her to play on the outside. What does that say about her, I guess, just as a competitor that she's been able to do?
I think it says a lot about just her as a teammate, really, that she wants to do whatever's best for the team, and whether that's starting your eligibility this year instead of waiting until next year, whether that's moving positions, whether that's just all the different things we're asking her to do. And I think it's good for a number of people on our team to kind of go through that together. I mean, Lizzie, again, goes from probably fourth offensive option to being our 0-1, to getting the most swings on our team every match. You get a number of people that are having to do different things, and as long as they have that attitude of a team-first attitude, then I think we have a chance to be an excellent team down the road. If we get in that situation of like, I got to get mine, and I got to do what's best for me when it's at the expense of others, then we're going to start to struggle and really not meet our potential.
You touched on the passing, being a struggle for you guys. Can you guys succeed at the level that you want to with the way the passing has been? And if not, what's going to have to change for you guys to improve that?
Good question. Simple answer, no. Well, we cannot succeed at the level we want to if we continue to pass the way we've passed. We did improve this week from the previous week. Probably the biggest improvement, I think Mayer went up 0.2 of a point this last week. And that's something that we just have to keep putting the reps in, have to keep putting the time. And whatever skill it is that you're deficient in, that's where you have to put all of your efforts. We know that's where the payoff, particularly if our middles can be successful. If we feel like they're good, we feel like they could be superior attackers, then we have to then put them in better situations. And until we get to the point that we're passing, again, we use a 4-point scale, to the point that we have at least 2 out of our 3 passers passing at a 3.0, then we're not as good as we need to be. And so that's something we'll continue to work on to improve.
Heading into the first week of MAC play, is it kind of a different preparation style going into MAC opponents than it is non-conference opponents, because you might know these teams a little better than you would the non-conference opponents?
It is different mostly because we only have 2 matches on a weekend instead of having 3. And in as much as we do know more about a style of play or a system of play, there are big changes from year to year on each team. I mean, last year and the last few years, Buffalo's just been an okay team. They've not been in the top half of the conference. This year they definitely are, and they have a number of new kids that are there. They've had some kids out with injury. They're just starting to make their way back in. We see Buffalo right now as the way we prepare for them. I mean, we view them as a top 4 team in the conference based on what we know about them, what we've seen on video, what we've seen from their results, and so that changes something. I think they're better in serve receive than they were a year ago. There are a number of things that, as much as you do know more about them, it's important that we look at them with new eyes every year, because every team changes. And sometimes that's for the better, sometimes that's for the worse. And so it is easier in that you only have to prepare for 2. That's the big thing. And so it changes kind of our schedule for the week and how much time we get to spend on each opponent. That'll be really helpful to us. But it doesn't mean we just get to look back at last year and think, oh, we'll just work out the same and we'll just serve really well and they'll struggle. They're a much, much better team, and so we know we have to improve.
And then leaving non-conference play, was there something that you learned from just the non-conference schedule in general that you didn't think that you didn't really know about your team, or is there something that you thought that you guys were deficient in that you actually are stronger than you thought you would be?
I think I don't know the best way to say this other than I think we had a renewed maybe reminder of the value of leadership and the value of captains. And when you don't have those, how much harder it is on everyone else. From the player who doesn't play as much to the head coach, how much harder it is that the role that they play, when that is removed, how much more difficult it is for the team to be at their best. And I think the thing that I learned, and I should have learned faster, is that I had to have a bigger emotional component during matches. Is when you take those players out of those huddles, the information piece is important and the functional communication piece is important, but the emotional piece not being there, maybe not younger players not realizing, hey, we're 2 points into what's about to be a 5-point run by our opponents if we don't make a change. And if you have leaders out there, hopefully you pick up on that immediately. You see the body language, you see the faces, and you go into that huddle and you make a change. And it's harder from the sideline, but it's something that again, I think I was just slow to pick up on, that I realized, okay, we have to watch for that more, because we have so many young players that are trying to do their best for just make their own part right. They're not able to worry about somebody else. And so that's something that I would just say going through this entire experience together is just the value of leadership. I mean, we've always known it's really important, but I think just seeing 2 really good leaders removed from the team, how much more difficult it was for everyone, that we all have to do a better job in helping.
And then you talked about leadership on the floor. Can you talk about Vera and how she's, I guess, transitioned as far as the beginning of the season's gone, and then going into MAC play, just her overall level of play so far this season?
I think she is a very experienced player, and I think that is, she's been playing, I think, volleyball for 13 years, despite she's about to turn 19. And with that, there's just an unbelievable amount of knowledge, understanding the nuances of the game, understanding what to do in different situations. She still has plenty of things to improve. She doesn't like when we get to the video room, we start talking about blocking. You know, that's an area that she has to make some strides. But a sense of calm that she brings and a sense of understanding, that certainly helps when you go through challenging situations. And it helps even more when you start getting pieces back, because she is at her best when she is orchestrating the offense, when she has more people in their normal positions, being comfortable doing that. Then she gets to move them around and kind of be a conductor in that moment. And I think she will not only be better in that moment, but she'll enjoy her experience more as well.
Last question, could you give us a quick scouting report on Buffalo and Akron going into the weekend?
I don't know as much about Akron yet. That is, again, just kind of playing in order. We have assistant coaches that sign for scouting each team, and then I spend my time on the first team for now. So I've seen that Akron had picked up a couple of good wins that were kind of noted, like, oh, okay, that's an impressive win. That's good to see. But I don't know as much about them individually yet, just I haven't put my own eyes on their video. Buffalo, I did on the way back from Penn State. I watched some of their play in the last couple of weekends. And they have a number of new players that are doing good things, and they're big. I mean, they have a 6'4" outside freshman. It takes up a lot of court and just presents some different angles and challenges than maybe what you see from a lot of kids in the MAC. I think they're a better serving team than they were a year ago. I think they're a better passing team than they were a year ago, and those were areas that I think were real struggles for them in the past. I don't see as a real struggle anymore, and so we know we're going to have to work a lot harder on defense. Maybe in the past, if they've been living 10, 12, 15 feet off the net after they pass the ball, they're going to be in the system more. And now, because they've always had great athletes, now they're going to be able to be really damaging offensively because of that. The good thing for us is we just played a team that was unbelievably athletic in Penn State, and so that prepares us for what I would see as probably one of the more athletic teams in our conference, to be able to go up against them and know how important it is that we're ready as blockers. We get back to where we're supposed to be. We see our attackers early. We cut off what we're supposed to take away in that moment and really slow down some balls, because if we don't do that, when you have players that play that high, I mean, they have a player that's almost at 11 feet. When you have a player that plays that high, the chances of you digging the ball go way down. And so you have to do something at the net to slow them down.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.